Price too high and you're out. Price too low and you're not taken seriously. Let's get your head around value so that you can price appropriately. Hey, my name is Donna St. Louis. I'm the founder of ESuite Network. We work with you to bridge the gap between the 99% and the 1% through business ownership, entrepreneurial thinking, and innovation. At the end of the day, no matter how you cut it, price equates to trust. When people trust you with their money, they are trusting you to deliver a certain amount of value. Here are a couple of examples. I remember several years ago when I first decided on what was my third business going to be. I thought that I would help people with resumes and interviews and negotiation and closing the deal so they can get that next big position. What I did was I said, well, the people that I want to help probably don't necessarily have the money to really afford my services because they're between jobs, they're going in transition, and they just don't have the cash. So I put on an 8-hour workshop for $25. $25. I put out the marketing to a few thousand people. I rented the room. I made sure the location was great. I brought in lunch, and I had approximately 3 people show up. My mom, my husband, and my son. There was also another guy that showed up, and his name was Frank. Frank just happened to be staying in the hotel, and he was going to be interviewing, not the interviewee, he was going to be interviewing someone tomorrow. He had a couple of colleagues with him, so he invited them in. He thought the price was worth the cost of admission. Frank walked in and stayed for the entire time. He took notes. He asked questions, as so did his colleagues. At the end of the workshop, he walked up to me and said, the information you're giving is very valuable. It would work in sales, it would work in negotiation, it would work in contracting, it would work everywhere. But as I look around, you have an empty room. And I'm like, I know. He said, I'm going to teach you a very valuable pricing lesson. He went and took a piece of paper, and it had my flyer on it, and it said $25. He put 2500. He said, you just gave away $5,000 worth of value for $25. Quite honestly, if someone gave me $5,000 worth of value for $25, I would think that they had no idea what they were actually doing, and what I'm really going to do is spend $25 to waste my time. You need to raise the price of your workshop. He was right. 6 months later, I put on the workshop again. I put it for $2,500. I invited 2,000 people, and we had over 100 in the room. This is the same for you and everything you buy. Here's an example. I want you to think that you have a brand new shiny red Ferrari. The thing can go 0 to 60 in 0.3 seconds flat. It's the fastest thing you've ever driven in your life. You get behind the wheel and you drive it. You don't just drive it a little bit, you drive it. You bank those corners. You don't even touch the brakes unless you absolutely have to, and always at the last minute. This car is hugging the road and the seat is hugging you. You love it and it seems to love you. After about 6 months of really driving this thing hard, your brakes give out. You have a choice. You can go to Leroy, the guy down the street that can get you some brakes for about $500 for all 4, or you can go to the certified Ferrari brake mechanic who will get you all 4 for $2,000. One is certified, and he's been doing this for years and can tell based on how you drive exactly the type of brakes you need, how long they're going to last, and the amount of time it's going to take, and he can certify his work. Or you can go to Leroy, who's going to give you a deal. Here's the question. Next time you're banking that curve at 120 miles an hour and you get ready to press the brakes just so your car doesn't flip at the very last second, who do you trust? Do you trust Leroy with the $500 brakes, or do you trust the certified mechanic with the brakes for $2,000? The answer to your question is probably obvious. Most people would tell them, you know what, I've never driven a Ferrari, but if I am going to have one, I probably have the money and I'm going to pay the $2,000. Why? Because price equates to trust almost every single time. Imagine that your customer is trusting you with their Ferrari. Are you pricing yourself as an amateur that they need to watch and worry about, or the professional that they can trust to deliver a solution? Until next time, I'm Donna St. Louis of the ESuite Network.